Hey everyone, I am so sorry. This is my third time making this video because I tried to go live on YouTube and my internet just keeps going in and out. So frustrating. We had some guys come over and fix it, and I guess I just remember that they're not going to be able to fully fix it until spring because it's now kind of ish winter. So anyways, hi, my name's Teresa. I make a lot of childcare related videos here on YouTube, along with acting related videos, which I am still working on doing more of now that I have more time. So, the thing we're going to talk about today is babysitter versus a nanny. What is the difference? What do you need to know when hiring either? So, I'm just going to read off this list, and this video is probably going to be really long because that's how my videos are. Okay, so let's start with a babysitter. So a babysitter generally is not working on a consistent schedule. They are usually used for errands or date nights, okay? Now, you can have a babysitter come every week for a date night or errand run, but they cannot go up to 20 hours a week because then they would be considered a part-time nanny. So just remember, babysitters are really inconsistent. Okay? Next thing you need to know is they get hourly rate. And this is why I kind of mentioned the whole part-time thing. But they get an hourly rate. And up here in North Dakota where I'm at, it starts at $10 an hour and goes upwards from there. So they get an hourly rate. I've actually never met a babysitter to get a salary because that's just not how it works. And the reason being for this is babysitters have the right to say yes or no to a job. If they straight up don't want to work, they don't have to. So, there's that for you. They're also usually a teenager, and this is why they're usually used for date nights or errand runs, is because they're teenagers, they're in school, etc. So, all they really need to do is entertain kids and feed them and probably go through their bedtime routine. There isn't that much responsibility that I will hit on with nannies. They're usually just there to entertain the kids for a couple hours, and feed them if they need feeding and stuff like that. And like I said, bedtime, they can do that too. They usually don't bathe children though. I've never met a babysitter who've actually had to bathe children unless it was absolutely necessary. So, transportation is optional. So they can either have their own car or you can pick them up and drive them back, whatever you prefer. Most people prefer them to have their own cars, but again, remembering that teenagers are babysitters and they may or may not have their license at that point. They may have a permit, but obviously they need an adult in the car for that. So, and they usually work at your house. Now, if they're comfortable with it, the kids can come to their house. However, in my personal experience, especially for teenagers, their house is not really equipped to be having children around unless they're a little bit older, but like infants and toddlers are usually always watched at the parent's house. So it's totally up to you, but most of the time the babysitter will come to your house. So now let's talk about nannies. So nannies can be full-time or part-time, and the biggest difference between these two is that they work on a consistent schedule. So even if you have a part-time nanny, that would mean that your nanny is coming these days and working these set hours, okay? It's still consistent, and to be part-time, they need to work 20 to I think 35 to 40 hours. I'm not sure what the cutoff is because I know full-time is 40 plus hours. So, the biggest difference you need to know, nannies are on a consistent schedule. Babysitters are not. Okay? Also, nannies usually get a salary, but broken down, it can be a good hourly rate. So for me, in my situation, we did a weekly rate. However, broken down, it was more of an hourly rate, which mine is just $10 an hour. That is the norm up here, okay? North Dakota people who are watching, that is the norm up here. So broken down, it can be an hourly rate. And I think I did a whole video on how to break down the finances with a nanny. And I think that video is really useful if you are a nanny, because I've seen so many nannies personally on Facebook. They work full time, but broken down, their salary is only $3 an hour, and that is absolutely not okay. So break down your numbers, because if you are getting less than minimum wage, it's not worth your time. Okay? So, also, they tend to have their own transportation. Now, this varies on where you live, but generally up here in North Dakota, they have their own transportation. Some people have family cars, and I know some people say it's better just because of maintenance that you need to do on a car. Kids are a lot in a car. The other day, I had to clean mud off from my middle console, the middle part of the car, because my 5-year-old was kicking his boots onto it, and I didn't even think he could reach it because I just didn't think he could. But he could, and so I had to do that. So maintenance wise, it's probably better to have a family car, but that's up to you. If you're comfortable with having kids in the car, then it's completely fine. You can also make a rule of like no snacks in the car, because that's disgusting. I usually give the kids something pretty easy that can be easily cleaned up and stuff. So totally your choice on that. Nannies also have a lot more responsibilities, because they're usually doing the cleaning, the laundry, meals, and doing early educational stuff with the kids compared to a babysitter. Remember, I said babysitters are usually just there to entertain the kids. Nannies are actually taking an interest in your child's development compared to a babysitter. So they are basically stay-at-home moms that are getting paid. That's really what being a nanny is, especially when it's happening at your house. So yes, they're usually doing cleaning, laundry, making meals, and stuff like that. If you're not, but you're working that 20 hours to 40 hours, or even 40 plus hours, and you're not doing that stuff, you're still a nanny because of the hours that you are working, okay? So, nannies also collect taxes, which is huge. Nannies can collect taxes, and they can be paid overtime, which I didn't write down on this, because they are household employees, okay? So, I don't remember what the exact hours are, but if I find it, I will post it in the comments. If they're working X amount of hours, then you need to be collecting taxes. And there's great services out there. Care.com has home pay. I will say that gets very, very expensive, because there's a lot of fees, I guess, on the family's end. So just be aware of that, because my family and I did that, but because of their financial situation, they weren't really able to give me a raise if we continued using that. So just be aware of that. But you have to collect taxes, and you have to pay them overtime if your nanny is full-time, okay? That's very important. I will do a separate video on the like legal stuff of having a nanny, because there's a lot that people don't know about. By collecting taxes and stuff, your nanny is entitled to certain rights. So if discrimination ever happens, they have a right to take you to like small claims court or whatever and work that out. So just FYI on that. They are also eligible for raises. So this is definitely something that's not talked about, but this is important. If you're with a family for a while, you're allowed to ask for a raise. Think about it this way. If a family member or somebody else was at a job and they never got a raise, do you really think they're going to stay at that job? Probably not. You are eligible for a raise. So, to go hand in hand with the stay-at-home mom thing, they're basically a third parent. You really are helping the family raise their child. And a lot of times people will say a nanny is an extension of the family, and that can be very true. But generally, yeah, you're a parent. You have to deal with the bad behavior and the discipline and teaching them and all of that stuff that a stay-at-home mom would do. And this is why I think it's so important to have a family that you see eye to eye with when it comes to parenting styles. Okay? And that's a whole separate video I can do. I think I mentioned this before. They're involved in your child's development. They can come with to doctor's appointments, but they don't have to take the kids to those. Usually for doctor's appointments, the parents like to just be there, but you are involved in their development, and I'll get a little bit more into that. You're also involved in their schooling, so you can help with their schoolwork. Not saying a babysitter can't, but you can help with their schoolwork. If you want to do an early ed, I guess, program or something with a toddler, you can definitely do that and come up with your own curriculum. And here's just kind of things that go hand in hand with the last couple of points. Usually a nanny can have an early development degree, or they can have a degree that is geared towards children and the early years. So other degrees they can have, they can have a child development degree or like a child psychology degree. But that's not required for a nanny. However, a lot of people, if they go into nannying, they will get those degrees that are geared towards early education or just early development of children. And the last thing is they can either work at your house or in their home, and that's totally up to you. I actually know a couple people who prefer working at their house, and I actually think this is really smart because, as I've learned recently, when you're working in your house, it actually gives the parents less control, which can be really helpful because we all just want control and it can get really, really difficult. So those are the main differences of having a babysitter versus nanny. The big takeaway I want you to take away, sure, English. The big takeaway that I want you to take away from this video is babysitters are on an inconsistent schedule. It's not consistent whatsoever. But they can come every week for a few hours as you run errands or go on a date night. But they cannot reach that 20 hours because then they become a part-time nanny. A nanny can be full-time or part-time, but on a consistent schedule. Part-time would be 20 to 40 hours. Full-time would be 40 hours or more. All right. I hope that helps, and I will talk to you all later. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe down below, hit the bell. I post every single weekend, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!